City Talks with Reuben Abat.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of your number one talk show, City Talks with Reuben Abati, on your number one lifestyle station, City 1051 FM. On this show, we talk about stories of political and human interest that affect us as citizens of Nigeria and as members of a global human community. Today, we will be discussing Nigeria at 61. Yesterday, Nigeria celebrated its 61st independence anniversary. And to guide us through this, we have a special guest. It is with great pleasure to have with us here today, Pastor Ituah Ighodalo. You all know him. He's a very prominent Nigerian. Pastor Ituah Olajide Ighodalo is the senior pastor and founder of the Trinity House. He is also founder of Ighodalo & Co. He founded that company in 1987. Pastor Ituah Ighodalo is an associate of the Nigerian Institute of Management and the American Institute of Management. In 1981, graduate of Economics and Accounting from the University of Hull in the United Kingdom. Pastor Ighodalo trained and qualified as a professional with the firm of PricewaterhouseCoopers in 1986. He's a fellow of both the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and the Nigerian Institute of Taxation. As managing partner, Ighodalo & Co., he brought to the firm 20 years of experience in auditing, accounting, taxation, human resources, and financial advisory services. He is also involved in journalism as the editor-in-chief of Timeless newspaper, The Christian News, and Timeless Business and Leadership Quarterly. He also sits on the board of 12 non-governmental organizations. Pastor Ituah Ighodalo is also a partner at SIAO, a firm of chartered accountants and management consultants. He also chairs Unicourage Web Media Limited. Pastor Ituah Ighodalo, thank you for joining us. If you want to be part of this conversation and you are listening to us, you can call us on 0700 1051 1051. You can also leave comments on WhatsApp 090-991-64403 and on social media accounts at City 1051 on Zoom and Facebook. Pastor Ituah Ighodalo, great pleasure to have you with us. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, yesterday was Nigeria at 61. That's our focus. Let's start with the national broadcast by President Muhammadu Buhari, which is the traditional thing. And of course, it's generated a lot of interest. For you, as a Nigerian and someone who is keenly interested in leadership matters, what are the big takeaways for you from that speech by President Buhari?
Well, thank you very much, Reuben, and thank you for having me on this program. I'm grateful. I've gone through that speech, not in too much detail, to be honest, but there's nothing for me. There's nothing really new. It's the same sort of typical rhetoric that you'll expect, but at least this time around, there was a bit of depth, a bit of research, and an attempt to try and address a lot of the issues that are bothering our country and our people at this time. The president spoke very, very, very clearly in terms of the insurgencies, in terms of the insecurity. He spoke on the matters of Sunday Igboho and Nnamdi Kanu and people fueling all matters of unrest and so on and so forth. And he did try to say that his government has done the best for Nigeria since 1999. All these things are debatable and questionable. The questions that were not answered is, why is it that it is at this time there's so much unrest? Why is it at this time there's so much clamor for division and separatism? Why is it at this time there's so many people asking so many questions? I think we need to go to the root cause of some of these things and not just treat them as though they're just people making noise. People are speaking loudly and asking questions because certain things have been happening that are agitating their minds. And if we all are fair to ourselves, our economy is definitely not in a good shape. And because of the economy, It is affecting the people, and it is affecting their attitudes. And a lot of people feel they have not been rightly treated in Nigeria. So I think government should do a lot more of listening to what people are saying and not be as dismissive as they are trying to be, saying that these are just people who are trying to cause agitation, session, and things like that in Nigeria. I don't think so. I think people have deep grievances that government needs to listen to, and I hope that the presidency, the president, and the government will actually speak true to what the president tried to say, that they are willing to listen to negotiate, they're willing to discuss. I think they should try and take everybody up and discuss with them, find out what their issues are, find out why they're doing the things they're doing, and then find out what we can do to truly make Nigeria a nation and to bring about the unity that the president was talking about.
Well, it's good you brought up the point about agitations, grievances, and the need for government to listen to people who are protesting one way or the other. But one of the points made by the president in that speech is that Nigeria's unity is not negotiable. Do you share that view?
I think what he means by not negotiable is saying that he's determined to keep Nigeria as one. But for Nigeria to be one, the interests of Nigerians must be taken and considered, and as best as possible negotiated and try to be met. You cannot insist, even in marriage, on staying married if your wife does not want to live with you anymore. You must sit around the table and find out what her problems and her issues are. We cannot by fiat just say Nigeria must remain united. It's not a fiat thing. You are dealing with human beings who have agitations, expectations, opinions, and so on and so forth. I believe in one Nigeria. I believe that we're better together, having been together all these years and having had all sorts of things that brought us together. I believe that there's no part of Nigeria that is not economically viable. And if we all bring the viability of our economics on the table, we would have a stronger, greater nation. I believe even that our diversity in terms of thinking, culture, and attitudes is a strength and not a weakness. But I believe also that everybody's interests must be taken into consideration. Not everybody can be satisfied as to what they really want, but everybody can come to some level of compromise, as many other nations have done. A lot of nations too are diversified in different ways, and they've managed to come together and speak more to their strengths. What we're seeing today is that Nigeria is maturing. People are asking questions. People are growing. People are going to other countries and other nations, seeing what is going on there. In spite of everything, people are getting exposed. So you no longer can treat the average Nigerian, no matter how old or young they are, just as a child. You must sit with them, discuss with them, negotiate with them, agree with them, and then we can all find a way forward. And if indeed people are grievous enough to say they don't want to be part of Nigeria, I don't think that there's any big deal about that. If they think they are better on their own, like Singapore told Malaysia that they were better on their own, then let them go and try. Let them go and try. There's no big deal about that. But what it is that it must be done in a peaceful manner, that there's no rancor and there's no shedding of blood and there's no crisis. I don't see why people cannot be allowed to determine their own destiny if that is what they want to do. You can advise them and say you are better together with us. But if they say this is the path they want to pursue, why should there be a crisis about that? I don't know if I'm being idealistic, but I think that after a while, the children grow up, they leave the house. Why should the parents now start worrying themselves that adult children now want to make their way in life? But if they say, look, let's stay together in this big house, and together we can fight a common enemy and grow a bigger house, then that's a conversation to be had. I don't see any big deal about all these things and people feeling agitated about people expressing their opinion. I think the age of maturity is coming on Nigeria, and we need leaders now who are ready to discuss with a set of mature people who know what they want and who want a nation where prosperity is available to everyone.
Well, one of the things that the president said, of course, is that the government is interested in having a dialogue with the people, and that will be a continuing process. But that remains to be seen. When we say it, we'll believe that that, in fact, is the true and official position of government. But it said something. You mentioned Sunday Igboho and Nnamdi Kanu, who were both mentioned in that address, national address. And the point he made is that government has discovered that there are some people who are financing agitators and separatists in the country, and that government is pursuing them. Should the president of Nigeria be announcing that, or should he just take action and then we see the result?
Well, I agree with you. I think he should take action and we should see the result. And after he has taken action, he can tell us that this is what he has done and this is why he did it. I mean, if people are financing Sunday Igboho and Nnamdi Kanu, it must mean that they are sympathetic to what they are doing. The fact that they are legislators or members of government does not mean they do not have an opinion. Sunday Igboho, as far as I know, is not asking for separation. What he's asking for is protection of who he considers to be his people from crisis and from banditry and from herdspeople who have overrun their land. He's not asking for separation. He's just asking and pleading for protection and saying that if government is not going to protect his people, he's willing to risk his own life to protect them. Okay, and almost everybody is doing the same. Okay, everybody is carrying security around today. Everybody is doing borehole in their houses today. Everybody is doing their own whatever it is, because people do not think that they are receiving the right kind of protection from government. He may just be doing this at a larger scale. And I think Kanu on his own is saying that his people feel largely unwelcome and largely marginalized and largely badly treated in Nigeria. And if Nigeria is not willing to accept his people, he is suggesting to his people and recommending that they chart their own destiny. Both of them are conversations by Nigerians, bona fide conversations. And what government should do is to sit with them and discuss. Oh, Mr. Igboho, why do you feel this way? How can we help you? How can we ensure that we protect your people? Except if government feels that he's talking nonsense, and indeed some bandits did not kill some people in southwest or northeast Nigeria in the last few days, or some people did not raid some people's farms and took away their produce, and so and so people. Those are facts of the matter, and nothing was done to protect these people, and nothing was done to arrest the people who invaded people's farms. If Igboho now says that this is not good, what we should do is he telling the truth or is he telling a lie? If he's telling a lie, then we tell him he's telling a lie and prove to him he's telling a lie. If he's telling the truth, what a responsible government does is to address the issues that he has said. And none of these issues have been discussed. We just carry up Sunday Igboho and say he's doing something outrageous and blah, blah, blah. Then the same with Mr. Kanu. Why are you saying you are being marginalized? State your points. Let's discuss it. Let's find out why you say you are being marginalized, and so on and so forth. And let's address it and let's prove it. And if indeed his people say they want to leave and they're able to get enough support from among the entire people, and they have a plebiscite or they have a vote and they say they really want to leave. After all, Britain voted to leave the European Union. They went through a process. Let them go through that process and let us see how it goes. And these are simple. I don't see any big deal about all these things, Reuben. I think we should be mature and we should be practical about governance, and we should stop being afraid. We should not be afraid. At a certain age in life, you stop being afraid and you confront the issues as they present themselves, and we stop just making it seem like it's some magical thing and something is wrong anytime anybody says that Nigeria is not going well, the person is a bad person, and blah 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 blah. We're just begging the questions. It is time for everybody to sit down again after 1953 to 1960. It is time for us to again sit down again and review our unity as a nation. After all, every company from time to time, they sit down again and do a strategy session and think through which way forward. And everybody is involved in the strategy session, from cleaner to managing director. Okay, and this is where Nigerians are now. We want to sit and discuss this thing called Nigeria. Since 1999, we were given a constitution which nobody, not very many people had an input in. We accepted it at that time, not thinking very well, and saying that let's even have democracy, no matter how bad it is. Let's have democracy. Now we've had democracy for about 22 years. We're now saying, you know what? Let's review this democracy and the basis of the democracy and see if we can improve on it for the betterment of every Nigerian. I think it's a legitimate discussion, and I think it's time for us to have that kind of conversation.
Well, you cannot be more correct, Pastor Ituah. But one major issue again raised in that speech, which I think will be of interest to many young Nigerians, is the paragraph talking about the president having given directive for the suspension of the ban on Twitter. But based on certain conditions that we had heard about originally from particularly the Minister of Information, about local content, about taxation, about setting up offices. What do you think in that regard? And do you think that that directive about the suspension of the ban or the lifting of the suspension on Twitter would take effect very soon, or would this end up as one of those promises that we don't see in action?
Well, there are 2-3 ways to look at it. The government can ban Twitter if they want, but this Twitter moves through the airwaves. I'm not sure the ban can be very effective. But what the government is saying is that they're not very happy with what Twitter is doing. But it is not Twitter as an organization that's the problem. It is the people using Twitter. It's like banning telephones or banning MTN or banning telecommunication or banning the people from flying because a passenger on the plane misbehaved. I mean, it's a little bit off the top for me as far as I'm concerned. Twitter is only a means of communication, okay? And Twitter cannot control what people tweet. It's not possible for you to control. You and I are having a conversation, and we're using electronic means to have this conversation. Imagine the inconvenience of everybody trying to gather together on our own. Look at how easy it is for us to make something go forward. That's what Twitter does. Twitter is just a means of communication. You might as well ban Facebook, you might as well ban Zoom, you might as well ban MTN, you might as well ban Airtel and all that. So the problem is not Twitter per se. The problem is the people, and the people have a problem. So it is the people we should be talking to and not Twitter. Twitter is just is like banning electricity because somebody got burnt in the house or there was a fire surge or something. So the whole thing doesn't even really make sense to me, to be honest. But be that as it may, the government is anxious that social media is causing problem because of access to communication by different kinds of people. If there's a way of filtering the communication and extracting, inciting information, fine, they can try and find it. If Twitter can do that and censor things moving through their communication channels, fine, they can agree with government. But the conditions that they are asking for are not conditions that represent what they are afraid of, okay? Asking Twitter to open more offices, so asking Twitter to pay more taxes, well, that's a commercial decision. I don't know what other the conditions were. They're not conditions that will address the security issues that they're afraid of. The problem is the people using Twitter, and the people are Nigerians. It is not Twitter or the company that is sending in the information. So we should look for the source of the fire and not blame the log of wood that is carrying the fire. Okay? Who struck the match is what we're looking for, and so on and so forth. So the whole thing is a bit off the top for me. But if Twitter, for commercial reasons, are ready to meet the Nigerian conditions, they're welcome. But this is my own thinking about it. We're chasing the shadow. The Twitter is not the problem. You know, anybody can tweet from anywhere. You can tweet from the moon. You can tweet from the sky. You can tweet from London. Twitter will continue to tweet here and there. Okay, you may block Twitter information from being received in Nigeria if you want. Fine, no problem. But it doesn't mean that that information will not go to other parts of the world and achieve what it's supposed to achieve. So let's address the pain that Nigerians are feeling. Let's address the problems that Nigerians are going through. Let's address the agitation that a few Nigerians have and see whether they are genuine, legitimate, and can be tackled, or whether those people really are insurgents and wicked people that want to bring down this country. It is the people we want to talk to, not the medium.
Okay, let's move beyond President Buhari's Independence Day address and look at some other issues beyond some of the highlights of his speech. And let me start by asking you, 61 years after independence, there are many Nigerians who claim that the country has done very well. There are some others who say, well, the good thing about Nigeria is just the resilience of the people. What's your take on all of that? And what do you think we need to do to help this country achieve its full potentials?
Let me be very fair and honest. I think to some extent, a few things have been achieved in Nigeria. Honestly, if I go through Nigeria, the length and breadth, I see the infrastructure, I see the roads, I see this and that. It amazes me. If I see new constructions here and there, it amazes me, and it speaks to a determination of a certain set of people and their resilience. I think what people are complaining about is like having a child who is 10 years old and is still using diapers or still wetting the bed or still not able to read and write. Then you are happy that the child is at least 10 years old, they can eat some food and they can walk around, but you're a bit disappointed that they are not able to communicate properly. And that is the problem of Nigeria. Nigeria is like somebody that should be a billionaire or a trillionaire who is just managing a few millions and thinking that, well, they are doing well. Nigeria could have done much, 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 much better. And if you just use simple comparisons, even though they are not as large economies as ours, you realize that we have wasted time, we have wasted resource, and we have wasted a lot of potential. One comparison is Singapore, who is now a first world nation. Another comparison is Dubai, who actually came to us to lend them money to develop their own economy. And now places like Rwanda and even Ghana seem to be overtaking our great nation called Nigeria. I read somewhere recently that the Ghanaian cedi is the strongest currency in Africa. I don't know if that is true or false, but you and I, Reuben, know that 25 years ago, the cedi was almost like a piece of paper. The exchange rate of cedi to dollar was almost 1,000 to 1. They had to rebase the currency, no doubt. But for them to be saying that that same cedi is now the strongest currency in Africa tells us that we Nigerians have lost opportunities. Ghanaians were flooding to Nigeria about 25 years ago because the economy was in shambles. Okay, we even were driving them away. Hence the nomenclature, Ghana must go. We came here, they became houseboys, they became megas, they became tailors, they became teachers, they were social and economic migrants in Nigeria, and almost now the reverse is the same. And this should not be happening to a country that has great potential, enormous resources, and a vast amount of strength and depth. And what Nigerians are asking for now is for us to address these issues and see how we can develop every single potential and economic things that Nigeria has. That's all. If Nigeria can try to develop its economy and bring out its resources and manage its revenue more effectively, this nation will really do extremely well. And that is really what we need to look at as a government. How do we ensure that our bitumen is used, our cocoa is used, our oil and gas is optimally used? How do we ensure that our gold comes out of the ground, our coal, which is the second best in the world, is used? How do we ensure that our cotton fields come back, our groundnut pyramids come back, our palm kernel is now exported, processed, and exported all over the world? How do we ensure that our talents of our people, IT, entertainment, arts and crafts, is brought out of the potential of people and exported? How do we ensure that our beef is the best in Africa, or at the very minimum, West Africa? This is what the government should be addressing itself at. How do we ensure that we get the best out of Nigeria for Nigerians? Already, without government support, Nigerians are doing incredible things. If you go to the US, the best doctors in the US, 1, 2, 3, are Nigerians. If you go to the UK, almost the same thing. If you go to Germany, almost the same thing. If you go to Dubai, almost the same thing. If you go to Saudi Arabia, almost the same thing. So the amount of capacity that Nigerians have and are willing to unleash, all they need is a bit of government looking in that direction and driving them in that direction, other than competing over oil. You know, the problem with Nigeria is that we're just competing over oil instead of developing other areas that have great economic advantage. If we can do that, I think this country can easily be transformed. It's not rocket science, and the resources and the technology and the skill is available so to do.
We say, yes, all of this is fine. The challenges, the possibilities, the potentials. However, moral rearmament. Religious leaders, some people argue, have played a major role in the making and the unmaking of Nigeria, with some slight emphasis on the unmaking of Nigeria. How do we get, these religious institutions to do a lot more in terms of making Nigeria a better place? Nigeria being perhaps the most religious country on earth, with a church or a mosque on virtually every corner.
I think part of the problem initially was the role of what religious leaders should do and the problems that their followers had. A lot of our religious leaders in the past were a little bit not exposed, and we had different kinds of interpretation of what God would want. And what we thought at the time was that God was not interested in religion and government or governance mixing together. Things were dirty and sinful interpretations of scripture or God, and tended to stay away from these things and just to support government in any way they could and address more the personal needs of their followers. But we have seen over time that religion, there's a lot more they need to do to ensure that, number one, they speak truth to power. That's one of the first roles they need to play. Speak truth to power. Hear from God, speak to power. Number two, pray and intercede consistently to the Almighty on behalf of the nation. Set an example person.
City Talks with Reuben Abat.
Welcome back to City Talks with Reuben Abati here on City 1051 FM, and our guest is still Pastor Ituah Ighodalo, author, publisher, pastor, pastor of Trinity House, and above all, a citizen and a teacher of the subject of leadership. And he's been talking to us about Nigeria as 61. Pastor Ituah, thank you for staying with us. We had to take that short break because we were having issues with audio connection. But in a minute, we're going to throw the lines open so that other persons could join us. But before that disconnection. If you may just conclude your thoughts on the role of religious leaders and how religion can be a positive force for good.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I was just concluding that religious leaders must really, really get involved, okay, in being part of governance and government. They have a clear role to play. And the role is, first of all, to support government. Secondly, to speak truth to power. Thirdly, to train their people to be good citizens and to take part in governance. Fourthly, to come up with their own suggestions as to what government should do. Fifthly, to partner with government. Government can't do everything. Religious leaders need to have institutions, hospitals, schools, farms, different kinds of social businesses that will add value to society, okay, and so on and so forth. And above all, they must come up with their own suggestions too and their own ideas. They are stakeholders in this governance and so on and so forth. So the issue where we used to stay out of government before and get governments to over-influence religious leaders, I think that is history now. We have to get involved. We have to be part of it. We have to encourage our people. We have to speak out also. And we have to show government that we're relevant and we want a great Nigeria. That is the role that religious leaders across the board should take.
Well, Pastor Ituah, before we move on, let's just take one or two topical issues and then we'll throw our lines open for people to make their contributions. Big issue of the day, rotational presidency, the zoning of the presidency of Nigeria in 2023, and the North-South divide that we've seen along those lines. Do you think that the conversation around that subject is useful, or is counterproductive, or it is for the most part self-seeking?
I think it's almost, for me, not that important. I think if we're still talking about rotational presidency and so on and so forth, we're still talking about dividing the pie and not baking a bigger pie. What we want is competence. It doesn't matter to me where the gentleman or lady comes from, as long as they are competent. Number one, they are visionary. Number two, they are exposed. Number three, they are hardworking. Number four, they understand the issues. Number five, they have integrity. Number six, they have good health and strength, and they are able to do this work. Number seven, they are passionate. Number eight, they are Nigerians, ready to develop every area of Nigeria, not to be partial towards one area or the other. We've had presidents who've told us, these are the people who voted for me. They are the people who I'm going to respond to. These are the people, this is where I came from. Therefore, because I come from this place, I must develop my place to the disadvantage of others. No, I went to King's College. When you become the King's College president, you belong to all the houses in King's College. You cannot say you came from this house or you came from that house. You are now a King's man, 100%. So we want a Nigerian, 100%, who will develop every area of Nigeria, who will listen to every Nigerian, who will ensure that there's fairness and equity as best as possible in Nigeria. Wherever he comes from is not the issue. If we're talking about zoning and rotation, what we're saying is that when it goes to the Igbo side, then the man must be, first of all, be an Igbo man before he's president. We're tired of that kind of conversation in Nigeria. If he comes from Nasarawa, he must first of all be a Nasarawa man before he's president. I don't want that kind of president. I want a president who will be Bayelsa, who will be Nasarawa, who will be Igbo, who will be Edo, who will be Kanuri, who will be Fulani, who will be Fufude at the same time, listening to everybody and trying to address the issues that everybody has. And really, we should grow a little bit beyond that. It's only really in Nigeria and probably parts of Africa where the place a man comes from is an issue. When we're playing football, we then say, well, 12 people are in the team. We must get one from each zone. And then if possible, 36 players, we exchange them after 15 minutes each so that Nigeria is well represented. You won't win World Cup football that way. It's not possible. And it's the same with competence. What we're looking for is competence. And if we're still so tribal in Nigeria today, it shows that our past leaders have not done enough to wield us together as a nation. And that is the challenge. Wielding Nigerians together as a nation and having Nigerians not remember too well where they came from. When I was in Kingston, we didn't know where anybody came from. We just were students, young boys, trying to make our best in life. We're competing over academic excellence, over capacity in sports, over social skills, and not where you came from. We need to move a little bit beyond that. And this issue of zoning, this issue of federal character, this issue of this and that is really, really slowing us down as Nigerians. And we have not developed as well as we should. That is what we're saying to one another. But it's a reality. It's a reality. And it's an unfortunate reality where some sections of Nigeria, for whatever fear or anxiety or whatever the British may have instilled into their minds, feel that unless they are in certain key positions, they will not be reassured that they have a stake in Nigeria, or they feel they may be marginalized. Nobody should feel that way. And if any president, no matter where he's coming from, marginalizes any part of Nigeria or any person in Nigeria, then that person is not fit for purpose. And we should be looking for somebody who will be fit for purpose. And that's what we want in Nigeria. A Nigerian president who is fit for purpose and wants every Nigerian, regardless of color, creed, or background, to succeed. And that's part of why I'm talking to my spiritual and religious leaders too. A lot of us are a bit parochial. We're intolerant of people of other faiths and people of other beliefs. That's their belief. It's different from evangelism. You can go and evangelize them as much as you want. That's a separate discussion. But for now, they are Nigerians, and this is their belief. And that belief, for good or bad, must be taken into consideration in putting together the Nigeria of our dreams.
Well, Pastor Ituah, very briefly, because I see we have a very limited time and we need to get some other people into the conversation who would like to ask you questions or make a comment. Well, the argument about competence, yes, it's well argued, but it's also a very controversial argument. The people of the Southeast are saying that this is about equity. Can we start talking about competence? Because there's no scarcity of competent people in any part of Nigeria. Why don't we allow it to go round first? At least let the Igbos also have a shot at it in 2023. And then we'll know that at least, there's a sense of equity and balance. What's your position on Igbo presidency for 2023? Or you stay with the argument about competence?
If the Igbos can produce a competent man, and they have a few who are quite competent, they are welcome, okay? But they need to tell me that if the Igbo man now becomes president, what benefits is it going to portend to them as Igbo or Southeasterners? If they can tell me the benefits, or if it's just a feel-good factor, and they now feel very well included in Nigeria after the stresses of the civil war, and it's a social issue for them or a pacifier for them, no problem. We can make adjustments just to pacify them and remind the Igbos that they're Nigerians and they're welcome in Nigeria. No problem at all. That's a social issue. That's a counseling issue for me as a pastor. But it doesn't mean that is what we necessarily need in Nigeria as Nigerians. Okay. What we need in Nigeria is a good and competent president. And that good and competent president will reach across to the Igbos and ensure that the Igbos are well taken care of, their issues are dealt with, they're allowed to compete fairly and equitably in this Nigeria and do whatever they want across the length and breadth of Nigeria and get the development that they need to ensure that they're included in the efforts of Nigeria. You understand what I'm saying? That person will do it. If he's an Igbo man, he will do it. If he's a Hausa man, he will do it. If he's an Ijaw man, he will do it. and that should allay their fears. But if they think for social reasons, they want to be pacified, they want to be pampered, put an Igbo man in Asoro, no problem. But I can assure you that it's not going to make much of a difference. And if he chills the nation too much towards the southeast, we'll have another problem again. And it's as simple as that. And that problem will never end. But we can pacify them, no problem. I think they've been through a lot of stress and trauma. And then we can take it from there. But you see, those are lame arguments. You see, they're very lame and they're very backward in 2021. We want competence, period.
Well, Pastor Ighodalo will have to open up the lines now. If you want to be part of this conversation, you can join us on 0700-1051-1051 or on WhatsApp 090091-64403. You can also send us your comments or questions on at City1051 on Facebook and Zoom. I see Dr. Adeniyi, Dr. Abiodun Adeniyi. You've had your hand up for quite a while. Well, I guess you're still here. Pastor Ituah Ighodalo. Over to you, Dr. Abiodun Adeniyi. Your intervention. Hello, Dr. Adeniyi. Hello. Is Dr. Abiodun Adeniyi there? Okay, I thought I saw a question that you raised.
Yeah, I'm here, sir. I'm here, doctor.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here, doctor. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Yes, it's a pleasure to listen to this very respectable man of God, Pastor Ituah Ighodalo. I'm one of the few pastors that I respect in this country, and it's actually a delight listening to him this morning. You know, Doc, the question I actually had is,
hello, Dr. Adeniyi.
About the place of religion in this country, in a situation where, you know, many of the problems that we've had from independence up to now have been caused by people, by adherents of the two major religions. You know, what more influence does he think that religion can play in our system, in addition to countries where we have seen religion playing very little role, and yet they've been able to propel themselves to development? You know, that's just my question, Doctor, and I'll be glad if my dear pastor can help me provide some insight. Thank you, sir.
I missed a bit of that question. I don't know, Reuben. Did you get the question in its entirety?
Well, it was saying that how much more useful or helpful can religion be in the development process in Nigeria, when it is clear that most of the major omissions in Nigerian politics and history are traceable to adherents of the two main religions, Christianity and Islam?
Well, I think it's just people taking advantage and trying to build a club or a collection of people and trying to benefit one person or the other. I think what we are going to try and do as religious leaders is to speak against those things and to say and insist that there must be equity and there must be fairness, and we must live as brothers, okay? And it was achieved before in Nigeria. I grew up in Western Nigeria. My aunties, okay, my grandfather was Christian. His brother was Muslim. So my mother's aunties on her father's side, most of them were Muslims. And they will come to our house, they will do their prayers. My mother will sponsor them to Mecca and all sorts of things like that. They will come back from Mecca, stay in our house, do their prayers. Ileya, we were there. Christmas, they were with us. This is how we lived in Nigeria in those days. We didn't know the difference. A lot of Christians married Muslim girls. A lot of Muslim boys married Christian girls. They will do the ceremony in the church. Afterwards, they'll go back and do traditional this and that. And people moved on, you know, and there was peace and progress. Why people now have started using these religions as instruments of politics and instruments of development and economic benefit, I really do not know. And I think it is unfair, I think it's unnecessary, and I think both religions should speak to themselves, address themselves, don't consider anyone inferior for their beliefs. They are not necessarily inferior as human beings. Because they don't share your belief doesn't mean that they're inferior. You can do your best to evangelize them and peacefully try to convert them, but you cannot force them, and you should not consider them as inferior. They know why they believe what they believe, and as citizens of the world, they should be given a chance to express themselves without inciting or causing problem for other people. I think it's crass ignorance for people to be treated based on what they believe. You can try to change their belief or educate them, but that's the best you should do, and then leave them to their own devices.
Well, do we have any callers on the line there in the studio? Hello, your name, your location, and your question or comment. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Reuben, God bless you. And the person online, Comrade Obanago Mohammed Ibrahim calling. I am particularly happy that a man like this was in the studio to discuss about the nation. Mr. Reuben, is the Southwest even being marginalized? Why the issue of Ituah now came up suddenly? If your people are being killed, let me use that word, and you are to provide them security, why the issue of Yoruba Ituah, aside from maybe if your people are being attacked, what brought about Ituah into people, a set of people who have been attacked by a set of people? Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, Pastor Ituah, did you get that?
No, not quite. You was talking about something to do. Please explain to me.
The comrade was asking you to respond to this poster. Is the Southwest marginalized? Yes, there may be security problems that the people are concerned about, but why should anybody ask for Oduduwa Nation, Yoruba Oduduwa Nation, when in his own reckoning, Yorubas are not marginalized? I guess that was his point.
Well, let me be very plump and plain and frank with you. A lot of Nigerians are feeling a little bit agitated when it seems as though the Northerners, especially the Fulanis, want to dominate almost everything. So that is the reason for this agitation by a lot of Southerners, the West and the Southwest and the Southeast, and even the South-South. And these days, the Middle Belters are beginning to join that agitation, okay? But the truth of the matter is that if the Northerners or the Fulanis have shown competence and a lot of equity in the distribution of things, and not seem to have shown themselves as wanting to favor a group over the other, nobody will be complaining. And that is the truth. Nobody really will be complaining. If most of the appointments they had made had been based on competence and not necessarily parochialism or showing preferences here and there, nobody will complain. But it is clear that a lot of the appointments that have come through have not really been based on competence. They've been based on a clear agenda to impose a certain section of Nigeria a little bit above the other sections, because that section of Nigeria believes that unless they are in government and in power, they cannot survive in this country. That is the belief that they've been sold, largely by the colonial masters, I believe, that unless they're in power, unless they're in control, they can't survive because they're a bit landlocked and they have been disadvantaged a little bit educationally. So they push that agenda a little bit aggressively, and it's beginning to backfire a little bit to other parts of Nigeria. And that is why all of a sudden there's this agitation for Oduduwa Nation, because in the past the Southwesterners had some kind of dentate or cooperation with the Northerners, but now it's beginning to stare them almost in the face that they also seem to be shut out. And that is why I'm saying Nigerians should come around a table and agree. What do you want from your side? What do you want from your side? What do you want from your side? How can we make Nigeria greater and better for everyone without anybody being worried or scared or afraid? If we have somebody who is thinking that way and thinking for the Hausa Fulani, thinking for the Yoruba man, thinking for the Easterner, thinking for the Middle Belter, wanting everybody to have a fair chance for development and self-expression, I think everybody will be a bit quiet and they'll just face how they can run their businesses and grow their lives and develop and compete to get to where they're going. Anybody is free to compete to be anything, but compete and meet the criteria, and you get the job. I don't care where you come from. Most of my very good friends have Hausa Fulani. They're from the north, male and female. I get on very well with them. I have friends from all over Nigeria, and I just see them first as Nigerians, and we all want to compete. Let's compete and get the best for the position. And all these things will keep quiet, and people will stop being afraid of competing. And I said also yesterday that education is essential and critical in this country, and we're not investing enough in education. And that's why people are parochial and afraid and frightened. Educate the people, teach them how to work, teach them how to employ themselves, teach them how to have skills and be self-sustaining. They won't have time for all these kind of things that we're agitating about. For people are jobless, they're uneducated, they don't know what to do, and they are now competing for their own share of the national cake as a freebie. We don't want to give out freebies in Nigeria. We want people to work and generate their own income and contribute to the well-being of Nigeria, other than take out of Nigeria. So that societal attitude of taking from Nigeria should stop.
Well, we'll just take one more intervention before we bring this to a close. Do we have another caller on the line, please?
Hello.
Hello, your name, your location, please be brief.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is on the line from Ikeja right now. Good afternoon, Doctor, and Pastor Ighodalo. Good afternoon, sir. Number one,
good afternoon.
For the speech yesterday, I was sad with the speech, and particularly just because of the time. If the president singled out the name of Chief Adeyemo, aka Sunday Igboho, and Nnamdi Kanu, I'll be talking about Sunday Igboho now, then the problem of division can never stop in Nigeria, because a lot of people like me and many more people, particularly from my side, we saw it as part of the tribalism that has destroyed this country. Sunday Adeyemo has not killed anybody, and for the record, he has a court judgment in his favor against the government of Nigeria to pay, I think, about 20 billion naira for the criminal and unprofessional invasion of his house. 2 people were killed there. That is not the kind of government that's going to give people peace. If you are not treating people with justice, then you can never have peace. That's one. Now, about 61 years of Nigeria, I think the best part of Nigeria was just 1960, or maybe pre-independence, 1960 and 1965. After the coup, the West has been story of anguish and story of pain, and I don't think that can change. That will never change, because the consequences of the coup and what has happened, the subsequent military coup that has brought about many states to some part of the country, which of course has already simulated the culture of sharing and not necessarily being productive. That is not going to help us. Let all the states. Dr. Kai, are you there, sir? Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, it's with you.
Let all the states be autonomous. Let us, if we cannot have the regional autonomy that we had during the time of Awolowo and the rest, let all states generate their money. Federal government be in charge of the airport and the borrowing whatever alone and the currency. Otherwise, let everybody go their separate, because there will never be a time where we are going to have peace in this country. The problem, religion and tribalism has caused in this country, nobody can solve it unless we just have fairness and equity. That is my position. Good afternoon.
Well, thank you very much for that position and that expression. All these things are available for discussion. What we're asking the government of the day to do is to let us sit around the table and discuss everything. If the states can survive by themselves and be autonomous, they are welcome to do so. The more the merrier, the easier the better. I have no problem with that at all. Okay, but the problem really with Nigeria is that we Nigerians ourselves, we're not ready. We're not ready for truth. We're not ready for development. We're not ready to pay the price and make the sacrifices for a greater Nigeria. We're not ready, and that's why we're still where we are. Most Nigerians, I will tell you, if they get to power today, they will do worse than President Buhari is doing. They will do the same thing. They will carry the money to their own villages. They will divide the money. They will do. That's why when they get there, all the criticisms and all the comments, they do worse than it is, because mentally we're not ready. So what we need first of all in Nigeria right now is a shift of the mind, a mental shift to tell people that we are better in certain regards. We're better seeking a better Nigeria. We're better wanting to contribute to Nigeria. We're better not wanting to corner the resources of Nigeria and wanting to look after ourselves alone. We need a mental shift, and we need to be speaking to Nigerians. And this is important for people like you, Reuben, to keep drumming it into the minds of Nigerians that we are better as working towards a greater Nigeria. And let's eschew all these issues of tribalism and religionism and all that. And let us find out how we can all contribute to making Nigeria a better place. Be humble, simple people, and face developing in Nigeria. Because if we don't reorientate Nigerians, we don't educate them, we don't change their thinking, we will be begging the question for a lot of time. And then a lot of us should be ready to make the sacrifice. It's not about you, it's about a greater Nigeria. Make the sacrifice to contribute to Nigeria, to give up some things so that Nigeria can be great, to work hard at making Nigeria great, to be determined to make this country what it should be. Nigerians are not ready to sacrifice. When we talk to people, get involved in government, get involved in this, say, no, I won't get involved. My children, my husband, my this, my that. Now, how is Nigeria going to change if you are not ready to sacrifice? If you are not ready to do the work, if you are not ready to do the heavy lifting, people are not ready to really sacrifice. They know how to talk, they know how to complain, they know how to grumble, but they don't know how to get involved and do the sacrifice and deny themselves certain things to make sure that there's more for everyone. So when Nigerians are truly ready, because even sometimes you work hard, you want to benefit people, even the people you want to benefit and help, they grumble, they complain. They say either you've not done enough, or they want this, they want that, and this and that. So they're not ready. They're not ready. They're really more interested in people that will take resource of Nigeria and dash them. They are not ready to work. They're not ready to have honest people, diligent people, competent people lead them. No, they're not ready. They want you to still go there, steal money and dash them. So Nigerians have to change their orientation. And this is the biggest problem of Nigeria. Your orientation, your values, your ethics, your morality, your determination. That's what we all should collectively work at now. And bit by bit, the good people, the cream, will begin to rise to the top. It might not be an overnight thing. We need to change the orientation of the House of Fulani. We need to change the orientation of the Igbos, who refuse among themselves to have constructive leadership, who refuse to work with themselves and cooperate with themselves and build up even their own region. I tell my Igbo friends, if you have so much money, why don't you people contribute together and build your own infrastructure? Why are you begging the federal government to do things for you that you all can do for yourself? They say, no, I don't understand. I should pay me. I said, why don't you choose a leader among yourselves? They say, no. Igbos are proud. They are this, they are that. If you don't have unity and leadership, you can't make progress. They say, no. This and that. How is it going to work? Even this presidency they're asking for, who will they choose among themselves to be president? They will not agree. They will not agree to choose one person. They will be fighting one another. And while they are fighting one another, the presidency will walk away again. They will come back next time. They will start complaining again that they are marginalized. But they will not sit around the table and choose one person. How are they going to make progress? We are not ready, Reuben, in Nigeria. And we need to speak to ourselves as Nigerians first, that we need to change our thinking change our orientation, be more exposed, be more willing to contribute to this Nigeria, and be more willing to set the parameters and the principles right that will give us the kind of leadership we want. Otherwise, we'll continue to follow leaders that will take our resource, spend it, give us a pittance, and we wait for them for the next 4 years. They'll take our resource, spend it, give us a pittance. If you choose today in parts of Nigeria, this man who has taken your money is spending money all over the place. Do you want him for governor? Or this man who doesn't seem to have more money but has led a righteous and a good life? Do you want him for governor? They'll probably go for the man who stole their money and has been spending money all over the place, driving Rolls Royces, convoys, and all that. They say this one that doesn't have money and led a righteous life is a useless man. This is the man they want. And this because they can't think properly. They can't think properly. And this is the problem. We need to change the thinking of the average Nigerian. And that is the campaign that people like yourself, myself, well-meaning people should now begin to undertake. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be expensive. But we must keep on that campaign. And eventually, one day, by God's grace and with His mercy, somebody who has the right caliber and the right personality and the right qualifications will emerge in Aso Rock. And then Nigeria can begin to go on the tangent that it's supposed to go. This is my simple thinking and summation. And I don't know if I've spoken too much, Reuben, but I thank you for the privilege of this platform to answer your question.
Pastor Ituah Ighodalo, well, we started on a strong note. We're ending on a much stronger note with a lot of honesty, a lot of forthrightness there, and you've been able to speak truth to power. I hope that the relevant stakeholders are listening and that they will listen. Thank you very much, Pastor Ituah Ighodalo, for taking time out to discuss Nigeria at 61 and major issues of national importance. I also like to thank all those who called in and those who reached out to us on Zoom and Facebook and everyone who participated in this conversation today. Remember, the conversation does not end here. You can reach out to me on my social media account at Abati1990 on Instagram and also at City1051 on all social media platforms. For those of you who tuned in late, you don't need to worry. You can visit YouTube page City1051 to watch the entire show. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave comments. And don't forget also to tune in next week at noon for another exciting edition of City Talks. My name is Reuben Abati. The show was produced by Adedoja Allen, Abiodun Odunton, Ayodamola Oludara, Bello Akim, and Oluwaseun Adetitun. Have a great weekend, and thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you again next Saturday. Thank you.
The same flavor.
Extreme poverty.
City Talks with Reuben Abat.